Japan is one of the most admired countries in the world. It's efficient, safe, polite, a place where even chaos feels orderly. But behind this perfection is something deeply human and painfully silent. Across the country, people are dying alone. No one notices, not friends, not family, just the smell weeks later. The name for this growing phenomenon is Kodokushi, lonely death. A nation growing, old and alone. It's no secret that Japan has one of the oldest populations in the world. Nearly 30% of people here are over 65, and that number is growing fast. With fewer young people and more elderly citizens, a silent shift is happening. More and more seniors are spending their final years completely alone. It's not always because they want to. Sometimes their children live far away, or they simply don't have any family left. Other times it's about pride. Many older Japanese value independence deeply. Asking for help feels like weakness. Combine that with Japan's culture of privacy, and you get a perfect storm, quiet suffering behind polite smiles. You might think, why not move into a nursing home? But many can't afford it, or fear the loss of dignity it brings. In some cases, neighbors don't even know each other's names. Apartment walls are thin, but lives don't always touch. And when someone passes away unnoticed, it's not just a tragedy, it's a symbol of something deeper, a society drifting apart. Japan's aging crisis isn't just about numbers, it's about what happens when connection fades and solitude becomes the norm. The rise of the hikikomori, youth in hiding. While the elderly die in silence, a different kind of isolation is gripping Japan's youth, one that begins long before old age. They're called hikikomori, people who shut themselves in their rooms and refuse to leave, for months, years, sometimes even decades. At first glance, you might imagine someone lazy or antisocial. But it's more complicated than that. Hikikomori are often overwhelmed, not indifferent. Japan's social pressures are intense. Academic stress, career expectations, family honor. Failing at any of these can feel like personal ruin. Many hikikomori were once ambitious students or workers who cracked under the weight of fitting in perfectly. And once they retreat, coming back is terrifying. They fear judgment, disappointment, and being seen as broken. Parents often don't push. Out of love or shame, they quietly support their hidden children, hoping they'll one day return to the world. This means thousands are quietly existing behind closed doors, invisible to society but very much alive, hurting, waiting, hiding. It's a chilling thought, a generation of people still breathing, yet already feeling forgotten. Overworked and disconnected, Japan culture of loneliness. In Japan, being busy isn't just normal, it's expected. The word karoshi literally means death from overwork. That's how far things can go. From the outside, the dedication is admirable. But the cost? It's often invisible. Broken relationships, burnout, and emotional isolation. Many employees work 10 to 12 hours a day, sometimes 6 days a week. By the time they get home, there's barely energy left to talk, let alone connect. Social lives take a back seat to deadlines. Dating, making friends, even calling family. It all becomes optional when work takes over everything. And culturally, it's hard to say no. There's pressure to join after-hours drinking with co-workers, not because you want to, but because it's expected. In some cases, people deliberately avoid relationships. Why? Because they don't want to be a burden or get too attached when time is so scarce. This disconnect creates a society where people are constantly surrounded by others, but rarely feel truly known. It's not that Japanese people don't want connection. It's that the system makes it incredibly hard to find space for it. And slowly, people drift apart, not out of choice, but because life just doesn't give them room to stay close. The business of death, when companies replace family. When someone dies alone in Japan, a very specific type of company gets called. Not a hospital, not a funeral home, but a Kodokushi cleaning crew. These are businesses that specialize in cleaning the homes of people who've passed away without anyone noticing. Their job isn't easy. Sometimes the body has been there for weeks, decomposing. The smell, the scene, it's not something you forget. But these workers don't just clean. They often find personal items, letters, photos, evidence of a life that no one else saw. In some cases, they're the only people who'll ever read that final message, the last goodbye that never reached its intended person. It's haunting and oddly touching. These strangers become the final witnesses to someone's story. There's even a growing demand for this industry, and documentaries have started to shine a light on their quiet, emotional work. But think about it. When death becomes a business because family didn't or couldn't show up, what does that say about where we're heading? It's not just a cleanup. It's a symbol of how modern life can erase someone before they're even gone. The emotional impact when loneliness becomes normal. Loneliness isn't just about being alone, it's about feeling invisible, even when others are nearby. And in Japan, this feeling is becoming eerily common. People start to believe their absence wouldn't matter, that if they disappeared, no one would notice. And sadly, sometimes they're right. For many, the apartment becomes a silent prison. Days blur into each other. There's no one to talk to, no one to miss you. Mental health struggles like depression and anxiety grow in silence. But in Japan, talking about feelings still carries stigma. Some people will keep going to work, keep smiling in public, while inside they're completely numb. And it's not just the elderly or the hikikomori. Even young professionals report deep emotional fatigue and a sense of being profoundly disconnected. One man once said, "It's not the loneliness that kills you, it's knowing no one would care if you disappeared." These stories aren't meant to shock. They're meant to remind us that emotional connection is as important as food or water. Because the moment society accepts this kind of loneliness as normal, it stops being a crisis and becomes a quiet epidemic. Reflection, what Kodokushi says about us all. Kodokushi isn't just Japan's problem, it's a warning, a mirror that reflects what can happen when we stop showing up for each other. In a world that's more connected than ever, it's strangely easy to feel completely alone. Technology doesn't always equal real connection. Japan's story shows what happens when efficiency, pride, and silence outweigh community, vulnerability, and care. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to end this way. Awareness is a powerful first step. Talking about it breaks the pattern. Small gestures matter. A neighbor saying hello, a friend checking in, a family member asking how you're really doing. In Japanese culture, there's a word, kizuna. It means bond or connection. That's what's being lost. But it can also be rebuilt. Even if you live far from Japan, this story matters. Because loneliness doesn't respect borders. So ask yourself, who would notice if you were gone? And maybe more importantly, who would you notice missing? Let's not wait for silence to become the answer.